I became fascinated by fashion when I first started to work for Women's Wear Daily in the early 1980s. And I was in Europe, and it wasn't so much the clothes that fascinated me as the people. Fashion is filled with the most interesting people. It's about personalities, the people that make them, the people that sell them, the people that buy them. Clothes are about people. Well, it's about the culture of celebrity. I mean, designers are, taking advantage of the culture of celebrity that has spread to all kinds of fields. Well, designers are celebrities like movie stars are celebrities. I mean, on the way over here, I walked over Oscar's Star on 7th Avenue, and 30 years ago, if you said, designers are going to have their own stars like they do on Hollywood Boulevard, people would have laughed at you and thought you were crazy. People like to relate to individuals when they're buying things, whether it be buying a movie or they're buying a television show or buying a record and buying clothes. People want to know the person behind the label. American style has emerged into a new era. When you have designers like Tom Ford running Yves Saint Laurent or Marc Jacobs running Louis Vuitton, it means that American designers are taken seriously on the world design stage. A number of American designers, Oscar was there, Bill was there, Anne Klein was there, Stephen Burrows, I think, was there. Halston was there, and then a number of European designers. And the show was put together, I think, by Marie-Hélène de Rothschild in order to raise money for Versailles. And the object was to create this sort of competition between American designers and French designers. And the highlight was the fact that the American designers, who were young and exuberant and energetic, won and got all the attention, and the European designers looked old and stuffy, and it brought American fashion to a place it had never been before. It showed that American design was more than just a pair of jeans, that American design was worthy of being paid attention to from the design angle. It wasn't just a cultural thing, it was something else, it was something bigger than that. It was a watershed moment, more symbolic than actual, because most people didn't know anything about it. It was, a very insider event. But it was a watershed moment in showing a respect for American fashion that it hadn't had before. The 80s were, you had, the fun of the Reagan years and all, the Le Cirque hairdo and all that sort of thing. You also had the sadness of the AIDS epidemic, which really damaged fashion. So it's, there's just memories of many, many things. People, the emergence of designers as superstars. I can remember once seeing Karl Lagerfeld go to Dallas and having a parade meet him at the airport. And, stuff like that never happened before. Well, Hollywood's always been a force in fashion. I mean, movie stars in the 30s and the 40s were obviously a force in fashion, but in the 90s, they became a way to sell clothes. The Academy Awards, for example, became the event to have your dresses on at, because they sold clothes as well as they sold movies, or even better sometimes. I knew Halston at the end of his career. I didn't know him very well at his height, when he was at his most creative and when he was influencing fashion around the world, not just in New York. But he was the first superstar American designer that people in other countries knew about. First of all, he had a lot of talent, but he also had that ability to promote himself. He became a movie star. I mean, Halston was on the Love Boat. I mean, Halston had the Halstonettes, which were a group of people that were around him. When Halston showed up at an event, the paparazzi went crazy, just as they did for a movie star. And Halston had that star quality that, a lot of other designers have now, but then was kind of rare in America. Perry's fashion had an exuberance and a youth that sometimes had been lost in American fashion in an attempt to appear to be more competitive with the Europeans. Perry had a very youthful feeling about fashion, a more humorous approach to fashion that, it didn't take itself quite so seriously. Although it was a serious business, his fashion always had a kind of youthful exuberance that he brought to America. I think you have to take them piece by piece, because decades have a lot of inspirations. There's new stuff from every decade, but there's also old stuff. There's also going back and looking at previous decades. Like the 70s, you saw a lot of stuff from the 40s. In the 90s, we saw a lot of stuff from the 70s. It depends on the decade, but decades are often a reflection of previous decades, not just the one before it. The future of any industry, particularly fashion, depends on the talent that comes into it, the talent that's drawn to it. And as long as American fashion is able to attract young, talented, creative people to be designers, to be retailers, to be photographers, then it will have a bright future. But as long as it attracts young, energetic, intelligent people, it will be exciting.